Hello, this is wmpyr. Sometimes I get asked what kind of music do I like, so I want to answer that in this video. The type of music that I listen to the most is actually basically workout music. We're talking about like the Rocky soundtrack or, Eye of the Tiger, that type of thing. Maybe some heavy metal stuff too, anything that pumps you up. I also like to watch scenes that will pump me up. For example, the last fight scene in Lionheart. Another type of music that I listen to is industrial goth or that kind of techno type music. It just works out with the working out part. Um, for example, the club scene in Blade, that kind of music. But those aren't my favorite kind of music. That's just what I listen to the most. Personally, I like classical a lot of times, and people are like, "How could you like classical? It's so boring." Um, the way that I see it is that I like movies, and if you like movies, the score that you're listening to a lot of times, the background music, that's classical music. And I like to pay attention to that when I watch movies. And I like that I could be like driving a car or doing something, and I could be playing, that could be in the background, and it's not so overpowering that I need to start singing or dancing to it, that I could just kind of like have it in the background and I could still concentrate on what I'm doing. It almost helps me feel like I could concentrate more on what I'm doing. And some people say that classical music has that effect, and I like that. I like that a lot. I find it relaxing, inspiring, motivating. It's for me, it's a lot of good stuff there. But the type of music that I like the most, and this is the answer that you guys probably want to hear, is as far as songs go, I'm gonna pick by the individual song, not by the album, not by the genre, because to me none of that is important. I go by individual song, and a lot of it comes from soundtracks because I do like movies. So the bottom line is it pretty much has to be dark and sexy for me. Those are the kinds of music that I like, dark and sexy. Um, Now, also going along with that to me is rebellious. So it's like, it doesn't fit in the box, So being rebellious is also creative, and you have that bad boy side, So I like that too. And sadness. Sadness to me also goes along with dark and sexy. The way I could describe that is, by sadness, I don't mean someone who's just real negative or complaining, whining all the time. That's not what I mean. I think that there's a real beauty to sadness and elegance there. Someone that's very quiet and you can tell they're sad. To me, that's beautiful. Actually, that silent sadness to me is has a very beautiful quality compared to someone who's just like happy, loud, and partying. That's like the opposite for me. I'm not into that kind of scene, and I don't like that. And I like the calmness, the serene. And a good example I could give you is, for example, in Return of the Jedi, when Luke is asking Princess Leia, he's saying, "What do you remember about your mother?" And the way she's describing her, to me, that is a silent sadness, and therefore sounds very beautiful. So once again, all that basically ties into dark and sexy. So let me focus on just that. There are some songs that are more on the rebellious side. There are some songs more on the sad side. But let me focus on just the dark and sexy. So 9 songs for you guys. So the first one is "Sunglasses at Night" by Corey Hart. I think this one is pretty underrated. Maybe it's under the radar. A lot of people may not be familiar with it. I like it. It's like, "I wear my sunglasses at night." I can't sing or anything, but it's just really, really cool. Definitely has a very strong vampire theme to it, and that's what I like about it. Next up is "Life in Mono" by Mono. This is from the soundtrack of Great Expectations with Ethan Hawke. And yeah, it's like a French song, and the reason why I chose it is because I think the song is awesome, but I really, really like the original story, Great Expectations. It's the classical literature I'm a huge fan of. A lot of people like Romeo and Juliet. As far as classical literature romance goes, that's like their favorite story. For me, by far, it's Great Expectations. I really enjoyed reading it, and I like even the movie that has the Anthony Hopkins as Magwitch in it. I haven't seen this version, but I really like the song. So anyway, the next one is Mouth by Bush. And I've heard two different versions of it. The version that I like is the one from the film American Werewolf in Paris. And man, this is probably the sexiest song on the list. It's super sexy, super dark, very, very cool stuff. If you haven't heard it, I strongly suggest. It's an awesome one. Next up is Face to Face from by SOUXIE and the Banshees, and this is from that scene in Batman Returns where Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Keaton are dancing together at the party where everyone's wearing a mask because it's a masquerade dance ball, and they don't want to be part of that, because they're so used to wearing a mask and all that. But it's a beautiful scene. It's a really cool scene, and it really that scene alone just kind of gives me the character development between the two, and I like that. And the song itself is very dark, very, very cool. The lyrics are awesome, so I like it a lot. Next up is People Are Strange by Echo and the Bunnymen, and this kind of goes along the lines of Face to Face, where basically you don't fit in society. You're kind of like an outsider, and that's kind of like the case that in Japan I felt that way. In the U.S. I felt that way because I come from both cultures, so in a way that made me not fit into either one completely, and because of that, I felt lost, or I felt very alone. So both of these songs to me capture that perfectly. And once again, People Are Strange, I like the version from The Doors, but I think I prefer the version from Echo and the Bunnymen, just because this is from the soundtrack The Lost Boys, which is very cool movie, and I saw it back in the day in the movie theater in Japan, actually. But all right, moving along, Color Me Once by Violent Femmes, and I had to put a song in here from The Crow soundtrack, because honestly, there's so many good songs on there, and I don't think this is necessarily the best song, but I wanted to put at least one song from The Crow in this list, because that movie is awesome. For me, I idolized at first, and then I researched and studied and was inspired by Bruce Lee, of course. And from Bruce Lee, seeing that transition to Brandon Lee, and his final movie, The Crow, and everything like that, it was just it covers the entire chapter for me, and my martial arts training and all that. Just really, really liked The Crow, how dark it is, and how so cool he is in that, and it's definitely one of the early superhero films that was very successful, and it's one of the ones that I really, really like to this day. So it covers a lot of emotions there for me. Okay, so next, moving on, is Out of My Mind by Duran. This was from the Saint soundtrack, but I did enjoy the movie, but the song itself stands on its own. This is one of those, on this list, there are some songs that are replaceable. Like I could change it with another song. This is one of those that is a constant, that is always in my top list. This is a really, really dark and cool song, and I highly recommend it. It just sounds so awesome, I really like it. Moving along is Skyfall from by Adele. This is a relatively recent song, and it is so awesome because for me, my dad is a huge James Bond nut, and I grew up watching James Bond because of my dad. Even though he's a James Bond guy, I'm a Dracula guy, but it makes me think of my dad and stuff, and makes me think of the younger years when I was just growing up, because I saw so many James Bond movies growing up. And this is one, to me, that even though it's a modern Bond film, the music and the movie itself is really good, but the music is so good that it takes it back to basically Goldfinger, which I think is the #1 James Bond song from back then. and this to me can go toe to toe with Goldfinger. It's that good. I feel like so. It was amazing for me to hear it, especially after hearing some of the previous songs that were more modernized, and then to go this, I got goosebumps. I was like, I heard the song before I saw the movie, and when I heard the song, I was like, the movie's gonna be good. All my worries are gone because the song is just so solid that it captures the Bond feel that I now I feel completely okay. And then I saw the movie and I was like, yeah, it's great. So, all right, last one, number 9 on the list is Sweet Dreams by Eurythmics. Yeah, this is another one of those that is a constant. It's just very, very cool. How could you not like it? Every time it comes on, it just makes you want to move to the beat, and it's a really, really neat one, of course. I like the Marilyn Manson version too, but I think the reason why that is so good is because the original is so awesome, and it was a really good choice to do a cover for him. But yeah, the original for me is timeless. It's awesome. So moving along, just want to list up some other. Those are my 9 main ones that I'm recommending to you guys. But let me just do like honorable mentions real quick. So let me just go blow through these. Tourniquet by Marilyn Manson. Where Is My Mind? Pixies. That's from the Fight Club soundtrack. Talk Show Host by Radiohead. This is from the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack, which is an excellent soundtrack. Lots of good songs on there. Everybody Knows by Leonard Cohen. Very, very distinct, dark voice. If you've never heard it, you got to hear this guy's stuff. Great Southern Land by Icehouse. It's one of those where it's like you feel like you're traveling. And for me, living in Texas, there's a lot of road trips that I have made. I've traveled all around Texas. Texas is a huge, huge state. It's as big as some other countries, or other bigger than other countries. So that and traveling and stuff like that is just always giving me that kind of a certain kind of feeling. So I like that. Another Day in Paradise by Phil Collins. Love Song The Cure by The Cure. Putting on the Ritz by Taco. After Dark by Tito and Tarantula. Layla by Eric Clapton. Minnie the Moocher by Cab Calloway. This is a classic from the Blues Brothers. Johnny Guitar by Peggy Lee. Another classic. Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 by Pink Floyd. This is what I was talking about the rebelliousness. And then Orinoco Flow by Enya. And this, once again, this is about like the traveling stuff. Traveling humbles you, at least for me. Every time I've traveled and felt alone, and I guess it goes back to that kind of darkness. When I feel alone, stranger in a strange land, I feel humbled, and it's just I feel like I've experienced that a lot since a young age. Next is Painted Black by Rolling Stones. La Isla Bonita by Madonna. Had to put in one Madonna song. And here is one Michael Jackson song, is Billie Jean, of course. And I actually like Depeche Mode. So from their Violator soundtrack, which is probably my favorite album of theirs, I like Policy of Truth. So, those were just real quick. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please feel free to comment below what are some of your favorite songs. So thank you for listening, and take care, folks.